Hi, I'm Julie Oliver.
And I'm Liz O'Gara.
Welcome to episode 8 of Wine About the Market, where we don't really whine about the market, but we do drink wine and we talk about real estate.
We do.
So this month, we're actually going to go back to kind of our roots, and we're going to just talk about the market in general. So the last few episodes, we've kind of talked about specific topics.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to talk more in general about the market. I think it's a good time because we're just starting into the selling season.
Yep, everything's starting to wake up.
Yeah, so Liz, why don't you give us a little summary or recap of the market? We just got the stats for February.
Right. So this is at the end of February, it's now mid-March, so we'll keep that in mind. So let's start with like the year-over-year stats, because these are broad stats and we're going to find out an interesting story when we go to month, because it's a little bit different there. So year over year, our prices are down about 10.5%, and our average median sales price is $492,000.
So $492,000. So I remember last year in April or May, we were up at like 605. I think we capped, like we peaked at 605 in May.
We did.
So we're now 10.5% below that peak.
Correct. And home sales are down about 7.3% or so.
Well, and that's interesting because that feels like a lot. I mean, to me, sales are down 7.3%. That seems like a lot. But we were just reading in the stats that in February, it was the first time since last June that we didn't see double-digit declines in the total number of sales that
since
happened.
June of 2022.
Yeah. So 7.5% seems kind of like a big number, but compared to what we've been, we've been on this downward trajectory of the number of sales. The number of homes being sold every month has been down 10 or double digits.
Yeah.
In February, we see a little bit of a change.
Right.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is really good. The train's slowing down a little bit.
Let's hope.
Yeah. And then the total days on market, they're up to 78 days on market. They were down to 32 days on market, but we're still hovering around normal days on market range, I think.
When you think about the percentage change from last year, so we went from 32 to 78.
Yeah.
It's like 140% increase. But we have to remember that we were down to such a short amount of time. So now 78 days is sort of a normal amount of time for a house to be on the market before a contract is signed.
Correct. Yeah. And then let's talk about inventory. We've been talking about that a lot lately.
I feel like it's been the story for like 10 years.
Totally. Well, at least the last 5. Well, maybe since 2014.
Really, yeah.
It's been the topic, and it still is the topic. Our inventory is up. We have 1,101 homes on the market at this time, and about 1.5 months of inventory. Yeah.
So this is kind of funny because inventory is up 110%. Like that's a big jump, right?
Yeah.
From last year, 110%. You think that's got to be good. Well, when you think about the fact that we had 2 weeks worth of inventory last year at this time, so now we're only at a month.
Right. So, and remember, a balanced market is 5 months on average. So we're far from there.
We have a long way to go. Yeah. It's just funny because during the Great Recession, the story is exactly the opposite. So part of the problem then was that we had this huge oversupply of homes, way too much inventory.
Right.
This time, we just can't get enough homes on the market to meet the demand that we have.
Right, and there'll be some information about the homes on the market when we get to the month-to-month stats.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about the month-to-month stats?
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so on a month-to-month basis, when we look at what's happened from January into February, I think we see a little bit of a different story. So we talked about the median price being roughly $492,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's up $5,000 from January. So it's not a lot, but it's a little bit of a change.
Pop up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we're seeing sort of a shift in the direction that the trajectory is going.
Right.
So the interesting thing I think that we're going to start seeing is the effect that interest rates have on the market. So I think prices are kind of maybe moderating.
Yeah,
as a
well, they did
reaction
start to go up a little bit in February, and
the interest rates went up?
yes, interest rates did. We'll probably see more of that in the next round of stats. So.
Yeah, so that's causing maybe some effect on the median sales price.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because in January, when rates were actually below 6,
Yeah,
all of a sudden we started to see all this activity happening. And that might be what we're seeing in our February numbers,
right.
is a reaction to the fact that I think
the rates went down a little bit.
right, exactly. Rates were sort of low, and I think there was sort of this feeling that people said, okay, rates are going to be right around 6 for a while. I need to buy a home. I'm going to make a move.
Or I need to sell for a job or whatever.
Right, exactly. So I think people sort of said, okay, I'm just going to do it. This is where rates are going to be.
Yeah.
So some of the numbers we're seeing in the February stats are because people, I think, were taking advantage of those rates below 6. Well, now we're up. I think I looked today, and it's kind of hard to say, but we were in the mid, like 6.5, 6.6. So we've had a big jump. So we'll see what happens when we get the numbers for March.
Yeah.
What impact these rising rates have on our sales and on pricing.
And what the Fed does.
Yeah, and what the Fed does.
Right.
Exactly. So, mortgage interest rates, supply and demand, all of these things are sort of in flux right now.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how these things affect the market over time.
Right.
So we already talked when we were talking about year over year numbers, supply is really low. So January and February were pretty flat as far as supply goes.
Right.
So,
but we're heading into the selling season, and what we've always said, we always joke around, after Super Bowl, people start to think about their spring activities and if they're going to move, getting their house ready for that, and what their changes might be.
This is our very unscientific
gauge
of the market, but it's true.
Experiment.
Yeah, right.
But we've seen it, and we've heard other agents mention it as well.
So. Right, exactly. Now, the interesting thing I think is that the number of homes sold, so closed sales, it's kind of interesting. It's up 35% over January. So when we look at the year over year numbers, the trajectory is like this. But when we look at January to February, the rate of change shifts.
Yeah.
Now,
could be cyclical.
It could be cyclical for sure, but it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens.
Yeah.
Is this a blip or is this the start of a trend? Let's hope it's the start of a trend. But we're just sort of seeing this rate of change shifting from this. Are we flat? Are we going to pick up a little bit? Who knows? But the important thing is the sheer number of transactions that are happening is going up.
Yep. So here's an interesting fact, Julie. New construction made up 40% of all sales last month in Ada County.
Wow.
I know.
That's amazing.
It is. That's a lot of amount. And you know what? They have 2.4 months supply versus our 1 month or just over 1 month supply.
Oh yeah. So existing homes, just to differentiate. So we've got existing homes. So if I put my home on the market, my home is considered obviously existing home. So builders putting their inventory on the market, new construction, 40% of all sales.
Correct.
Wow, that's amazing.
Correct. And that's
so it's because they have inventory available.
It is, right. Like I was saying, they have 2.4 months of inventory.
Twice as much.
Yeah.
Twice as much as existing homes.
That's a good way to look at it. And, when sales started to slow down, the economy and interest rates started raking up, the economy was sort of, everyone's trying to figure out what was happening. Builders did pull back, but they had a lot of construction that had already been started. They had to continue down to finish those homes.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. We have so much access to data,
right?
To trends and what's happening. Well, builders are the same.
Yeah,
they're tracking the market, and so I do think it was interesting that, we talked just kind of anecdotally back in April. We felt something was changing in the market,
right?
And May, we started looking at the numbers and we saw them changing direction. Well, builders had access to the same information.
Yeah.
And so I think they knew at that time, we better pump the brakes.
Right. And we could touch on that a little bit, because we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between national statistics versus local statistics. And I'm sure they used some of the national numbers too to see what was happening. But they have some incentives.
Oh boy, yeah, that probably is driving some of the sales too.
Yeah.
So like, again, going back to the example, if I'm gonna sell my home, I only have so much I can give, right? But
right.
a builder, like, what kind of incentives are they offering?
So they're giving builder incentives, just basically a discount, let's say $5,000 at closing, that can go for prepaids or anything.
So
They're
prepaid's like closing costs.
Correct. Title
Okay.
insurance, closing costs, anything that you would have to pay at the closing table. They're also buying down your rate. So
That's a
buy down
lot
point
more than
or two.
$5,000.
It is,
That's
it
why
is.
seller, that's hard. That's like
Mhm.
$25,000.
Yes, it
something.
depends too.
So.
Depends on how many points and all of that. And the most interesting part about that is it's not reflected in the closing.
Oh,
Price.
you mean that? Yeah. So when we look at the price in MLS
Yeah.
that it closed for, it's full price.
Full price.
But what you don't see, well,
It
we
was-
see,
Were the
but the general
incentives that
public,
they used.
yeah, we don't see that they offered 25,000.
And so their median home price is actually a little bit higher than existing as well, and that's probably part of it.
Yeah, that actually brings up an interesting point. And over the last couple of years, I have to use my hands because I talk with my hands. Historically, new construction has always been more expensive
Right.
than an existing home. Obviously, everything's new and has
There's a
a year
warranty.
warranty and everything. So, the price, this is existing homes and this is new construction, and the prices have been like this, more expensive new construction. Well, over the last few years where we've been so constrained with supply,
Right.
the cost of existing homes got closer to the cost
Pretty close.
of new construction. So that was kind of an interesting feature of the market over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the way the market has shifted since last April, May,
Yeah.
we are seeing that traditionally
That
more
gas line a little
expensive.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Julie, what's the high level takeaway of everything we've brought out so far?
Well, I would say a key thing to know about the market right now is that it's changing fast.
Right.
Or at least it appears to be changing. And so we know rates are affecting the market. They're having a downward pressure on pricing, but it appears, based on the change between January and February, that buyers have gotten back into the market. Now, that being said,
Well, I don't know how much they really left, right? They've been
well, they've been in the market. We've seen them at the open houses. We've seen them out. They just haven't had a lot of urgency, so they haven't been making a move as much.
Right.
But it looks like, based on the number of sales increasing from January to February,
Yeah.
that buyers have gotten back in the market. Now, this is what we know. Buyers are being very thoughtful.
right.
So, it was like a free-for-all over the last few years, and then the market changed. Now buyers are being more thoughtful. So it's all about location. If a buyer's gonna make a move, it better be in a great location. It better be in great condition, and buyers are looking for concessions from sellers.
Yeah. So it's value driven.
It's value, value, value.
Right.
Buyers are making a move when they perceive there's value.
Right. And just to step on the other side and look at the sellers, on a side point, sellers really only can control two things. They can control the condition of the property, how
Which
well
is
it's
so
maintained
important.
and
Yeah.
all of that, and it's up to date, the systems, and flexibility. Flexibility meaning terms of offers, what you can offer the buyer on repairs and things that need to be done that you're not willing to do up front. And also terms on showing the property. How easy is it to get inside the home? If it's too hard to get in the home, they'll move on to the next house.
So, sellers, get ready. Buyers appear to be back in the market. It's exciting, but make sure your home is in great condition. You can control that part. Make sure it shows well, and then get it priced right. And buyers are there and they're ready.
Yep, and just be able to get people through your home on a regular basis so that they don't have to move to the next house in their schedule.
So I would say the most important takeaway of a discussion about the real estate market is the fact that all real estate is local.
Right, it is local. And, you know, listen to the national news, learn all you can, pay attention to what's going on in our economy because things are changing quickly there as well. But it is really not necessarily, it could be predictive of our economy, but it's not necessarily reflective of our local real estate market.
So predictive meaning we could listen to the national news about what's happening in the market, and we should be aware that maybe something like that's coming to Boise.
Yes, but it's not necessarily reflective of what's happening.
It may not be
Boise
happening right now.
right now, or in the period
Or
of
ever.
time where you're going to buy or sell your home.
Right.
So you have to keep it within a finite period of time.
You have to take it into perspective,
Yeah.
or put it in perspective.
Right, exactly.
Be informed, but don't necessarily apply it across the board that what's happening nationally
Yes.
is happening here.
And pay attention to what your news is talking about, because sometimes they'll reflect real estate stats and information that is national, but they don't necessarily say so. So
Right.
it's just a caution. And also, real estate really is local to Boise, and even more, it's local to your neighborhood,
Oh,
your
for
specific
sure.
area, because some areas sell differently than others.
Sure.
There's markets that move quickly and homes turn over quickly, and so you want to know what's happening in your neighborhood specifically, and we have great stats for that. We can drill down. For example, if you're in Boise, we can drill down on the north end or southeast Boise. We can tell you all the stats we talked about today for that specific neighborhood, or even for a different county around us. So call us, ask us questions. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. And we love it
Yeah.
when our clients call. We get so excited because, of course, we're real estate geeks and we like to talk about this
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
But we really do love it when our clients call us. We do nerd out on the data. We love to absorb this stuff. But we would love it if you gave us a call because you want to know
Even
about
if you're
your
just
neighborhood.
curious. You don't have to be selling or buying. You're just curious and you want to chat about the market. Great. You know what? It's good for us to learn or research maybe a specific area that we haven't dove into lately. So
Right, exactly.
don't feel bad about it. We love it.
No, it is always fun to talk to you about real estate, and the more that we drill down, the better. And so,
Yeah.
call us.
Yep. Cheers. Thanks for watching.